welcome back to another video. I have gotten a lot of progress done in between episodes. I have completed all the fluid storage parts and all Project E, more power. Pretty much everything I started and didn't get a chance to finish, other than refined storage, up to refined storage, and I just marked off Gaia Guardian. I haven't actually beat the Gaia Guardian yet. And by completing a bunch of stuff, I got a nitro reactor from Powa, a tier 9001 resource generator, a bunch of runes, and there's another set of runes I got, which are the runes of the runes named after the 7 deadly sins. I completed the cataclysmic conversion and got a sign EMC link, and that looks like all. I also completed powered botany pots and the simple magnets. Today I'm going to finish the refined storage and transmutation interface. Oh yeah, I also crafted a tier 9001 resource generator, which I found useful, and is one of the reasons why my EMC is at 305.68 quadrillion. And which allowed me to make a couple stacks of Blacker Lotus, which when you throw into a mana pool, it adds mana to your pool. And what I found for making the Terra Steel is if you put a spark above a spark, which are pretty easy to make. If you make 2 of them, put one above the mana pool and another above the Mulgration plate. It transfers the mana much more efficiently than the mana spreader. And in order to actually use the storage parts, you have to make a storage housing for the first half of them, so the ones that come stock with the standard refined storage mod. And everything above that, where it says, click off, it adds. These are part of extra discs, which give you all the way up to that, but you have to combine them with a storage housing for the standard ones that came with the base mod, so the actual refined storage mod. And then you have to use the advanced storage housing that for the parts that they're from extra discs. What? Where is my sound? Hmm. Hmm. Oh well, I'll figure that out later. Today I am going to be working on finishing the refined storage mod, Flux Networks, and maybe starting to get to humble beginnings depending on how much I get done and how fast I get it done. Refined storage is simple enough though. But along with that, I have made a giant dynamo battery out of Sterling dynamos as a temporary big power solution that I can start hooking things up to, which this is now connected to, and contains all the stuff I can't put into the EMC table. First, I'm going to make this because I've already got all the stuff for it. What this does is if I remember correctly, when it's connected, it's been a minute since I've done this. Alright, where to go? Shoot. Oh, there it is. Lag. Cable. Oh yeah, I remember where I put them. They should be right here. completely forgotten how to do this. Oh, external storage connector. Chest, iron, construction, destruction. And improved. Making two of these. I apologize for that. In order to connect your external storage, you need an external storage connector. There we go. Now, whenever I want to craft something, all I have to do is add it. Which also means I can throw all this. And now I can create this stuff with no issue. Range upgrade. Don't know where you came. I don't know where he can. I don't know where they come from. They just show up. Too much power. But that just gives you the ability to access it anywhere if you've got the proper thing in order to allow you to do that. But that completes refined storage, which gets me infinite storage. And your choice of whatever type of crafter you get. I'll probably keep all these in there just because it looks a lot nicer if it's got all the things in, because if you take one out you could visibly see it, but it looks a lot better if you just leave it like that. But I now have infinite storage. And let's take care of this. There's a reason why it takes a while to actually get to the completed, and it gives a violet. Now, since that was fast, let's get to this, the fun one, because it takes up 3 whole sections. I've got a magic trick for a good portion of it. It's not that one, that's my emeralds. There we are. The cool thing about the Philosopher's Stones, you're able to turn stuff into new things like that with a click of a button. Really, the big downside is it doesn't register that you're putting stuff back in. to your EMC stockpile. This is also not the recipes in this, since it's 1.16 for create, if you're familiar with the create mod, are not the same as they are today. Like how cogwheels used to require buttons in order to be crafted and a whole andesite alloy instead of planks and a shaft. Not to mention, a lot of this is actually EMCable. So if you make something new and it's EMCable, I highly recommend putting it into your transmutation tablet or table. That will, even if you have this set up, because it is required in order to have infinite amount of the, not all the items in the create mod are able to be EMC'd, but a good portion of the ones I use in this are able to be EMC'd. And in order for stuff to actually, you have to currently have it in your thing. And with this, it takes a lot more actual interaction, and anything create mod, if you hover over it and hold W, it gives you a nice little thing that shows you how stuff in create mod works. And yes, I'm just being lazy with where I put them. And with these, did I forget how to make these again? Oh, yeah. It doesn't work the same as modern EMC to the Sky. It doesn't work the same as modern Create. I forgot about that. So you have to physically craft everything. Like how, me mentioning earlier how that not all the stuff can be put into your EMC table. Stuff that uses, there's stuff like the mechanical mixer that don't, that for some reason don't allow you to put them into the EMC table. A lot of the base components are able to be put into the EMC table, but not all of them. which is the sad truth, but can't do much about it. And you are required to make every single one of these items. And you have to make all the setups in order to make all these items. I'm just doing all these fast because I'm putting them in my easy save. So in this, you see all these. You can see all the recipes on here as part of JEI. If you click A while hovering over an item, you could save the crafting recipe, and it'll show up on all your worlds as long as the world that you originally put them on originally will stay there, if I remember correctly. Let's see, how many can I make? Cuckoo clock. And you can remove them just as easily by clicking A, hovering over and pressing A. Some of these require other stuff, like the funnels require kelp. I'll go back to those in a little bit. And there's also a bunch of items that you won't see on 1.21 required because they simplified the crafting recipes in future updates of the game, which made these a whole lot easier to make. And the nice thing about having the tier 9 1000 is you have of any item that you can't EMC as long as you watch what you're producing. For the most part, these get pretty easy to make in terms of items, and you are going to be required to go through these because of in order to create the final item in the game. Not to mention, if you understand how to do these types of mods or have done create, you know how powerful some of these are, like the fans and stuff like that, requiring no extra power other than the create ones with power, which is pretty easy because you can get, excuse me, infinite power without much spending on your stuff here. Well, fortunately, a lot of these base items are really easy to EMC. And I'm pretty sure I've got brass. I've gotten brass at some point, but I can make that right now. If I remember correctly, it's just copper. There's a 1-to-1 ratio. And to make a stack of empty blaze burners just in case, but I only really need one. Oh yeah, the reason why stuff doesn't get picked up while I'm in this area right here is because by my magnet, since I've got it powered on, is I've got this, which is the advanced demagnetization coil, which allows me to drop items normally in my little granite pad here, because it can go up 5 to 5 by 5 by 5 block radius, and you could see that blue outline being there. So if I'm outside of that area and drop something, my magnet brings it back. Rose core is pretty simple. What you do is you take sandpaper, put it in your offhand, hold right click on it, and it polishes the quartz. Then you just throw it into your thing. And the same with that. And I now have infinite electron tubes. which are required for a lot of the brass stuff. I forget, how do you get kelp in this game? In this mod. Okay, I'll do that in a little bit. At some point I'll show you how to make blazing blood because it's required for a lot of the stuff that require a lot of the stuff like Solium because it has ingredients that takes a lot hotter. But if you've done the thermal series stuff, and got the induction smelter, aka Austin, which is just doing the let's get thermal because it's one of the major things it wants you to make. It's one of the things you make in that portion in order to complete it. But you don't need to get blazing blood if you have that because this is hot enough to do that. Now, let's just make a bunch of brass. Let's get to the nether. Let's do a quick nether trip, which is going to be fun without sound. But I can't fix that right now. Whap. So all you have to do is just take an empty blaze burner and smack a blaze with it. So right click. And then you get this little guy. If you feed him something like coal, that's obsidian. My fault. I'm just gonna steal from here. If you feed him something like coal, if you right click it with coal, it creates heat. If you've ever watched the create mod, if you've seen create mod, if you put it underneath a mixing basin or for steam engines, they produce heat, which allows you to mix certain items together, like making brass with the mixer. Now, let's see. How do I get killed? Nature, water, essence. How do you make them? Nature amalgamation. Here we are. And let's see. For inferium for the water. There we are. Kelp. For another, sir. And I am tired, and I'm going to be getting off for tonight. I'll see you again tomorrow for you in a couple seconds. Alright, I am back for the next portion of the video, and I figured out why my sound wasn't working earlier. And continuing where we left off, I am going to be working on the copper and brass ages. So I'll be doing all portions of the create mod in this episode. Next episode, we'll be focusing on resourceful bees, and however many episodes it takes to make to figure out end game. And at some point, I will be putting a poll out to see what mod pack you want me to do next. And I'll also be setting up one of the first machines I'll need for completing this mod being the crushing wheels, because they require mechanical crafters in order to be made, which you have to create mechanical crafters for. The downside to the crank, using a crank for power, is you get a very small amount of power, but you don't get, it takes your hunger, and there's actually achievement for it if you use all your hunger in the newer mod. I'm not newer versions of this mod. I just don't know if it's actually in this mod, in this older version of the mod, because I haven't played it before. For now, I'll just make a stack of these because those are going to be useful. And if I remember correctly, I need 21 mechanical crafters. Along with that, I will need some cogs. Because I don't have an infinite power rotational power source for this. Not to mention, the old water wheels are a lot more different than the modern ones. And usually, if you have a casing, I know this works in the newer version. I can't remember if it works the same here. Yeah, it doesn't. But you can get away. It's the opposite way. It's big cog, little cog. Do a gear shift. Unfortunately, making a combined gear shift is a lot harder to do. Three, 5, 5, 5, 3. And if you see these lines here, if you then that's the direction where the items will go when you craft. And once it has rotational power, you will need andesite alloy, some sort of stone-based block, so granite, stone, anything that is considered a stone, and a plank and planks. Your stone center. And it'll start crafting. And those lines show you where the blocks go, so you'll see it slowly combine like that along the lines where you put it. So usually I set it to one side and make sure it feeds out. And then once all the item, it does all its fancy stuff, it crafts and drops the item. And then three gearboxes. Boom, boom, boom. Whenever you put a gearbox on it, so if you have one gearbox, it's gonna turn the same way. I believe it should turn. It's gonna have opposite input to what you, different opposite direction to where you place it than how it's spinning. So those are the water wheels are spinning that way, but this gearbox is spinning the opposite way. And when you connect to another one, the gearbox is gonna spin a different way, and so I did 3 in a row. So the 2 edge ones are spinning the same way, but the center one isn't. And if you take the copper, if I remembered how to do this right. No. It's been a minute since I've done this. There it goes. I forget his. Oh. Yeah, forgot about that. Requires an ore to do that. Just kills you. Been a long time since I've killed myself. Let's just crush a copper ingot. Let's just crush a stack of it. Hmm. Either I'm just getting really unlucky, or something's broken. There it goes. Oh yeah, you don't get... Oh, there's the missing item. Hmm. You don't get any real chapter rewards from those because they aren't under the chapter rewards section. But they are worth doing now because you will need them for the creative items like the generator, crates, fluid tank, blaze cake, world shaper, motor, generator, excuse me, pretty much anything that generates power. But let's continue on to the last thing we're going to be doing today is going to be the brass age. And a trick to just find stuff that is from the create mod or any individual mod is just do the @ symbol and then the mod name. So standard Minecraft will be @ Minecraft. If it's create, it would be @ create. If it's from a create add-on, it would be @ create whatever add-on it is. Precision mechanism, mechanical arm, rotation speed controller. All very useful things if you're building a bunch of creative items. Create mod items. I want 3 of these because I need 3 of them for what I need to make next. Being this, I need to get a gold plate. Make a couple of them because they are. It's not a guaranteed chance that you'll get the precision mechanism whenever you make it. Cogs, iron. Um, I'm doing this the hard way just because I'm being lazy. But usually you can. There's something called a. There's a wrench for this mod that allows you to actually make the create mod stuff rotate like how I do with the pipes and anything that's interactable with the pipe wrench, because you can't do that with the pipe wrench in this mod. Hey, give me that back. There it goes. And here comes the fun part where you have to do this a bunch of times. Normally this would be a lot faster, but I don't have it the machine set up for speed, which I'm fine with. But you have to pretty much to go do this five repeat this process 5 times to complete this. And usually if you go to an actual create mod creator, they usually have an automated way to make this because this is an integral portion of create, because it allows you to create stuff like the rotation speed controller, which allows you to control the speed of the rotational input, the rotational power. I love the lag spikes. There it goes. And as it goes through, you can see as the component gets fancier and fancier looking from that original tag, what the original one looks like once you start it, and then you have your precision mechanism. There you go. 3 precision max. Just enough to create these 2 items. And then I could just create infinite stacks of these. Oh, my bread! And my transmutation tablet. Then the fun stuff that requires a little bit of difficult stuff to create. I completely forgot about stuff like this. Find radiance. Been a minute. I'm gonna have to. I'll probably cut back once I remember how to do that, aka double check a video. Pipes, copper, andesite. And precision mech. Sticks, brass. I know I need the refined radiance in the future for one of the items, so it's better to remember how to do that. I'll probably cut back to figuring that out after I take this, after I make the two here. Let's start off the extendo grip. Oh, I figured out why I didn't like it. I put the brass ingot up in the wrong spot. And there we go. First item down. There we go. Potato cannon. That requires pretty much everything here requires the air tank for you to create. And now that I've got those completed, I will be back in a minute in order to figure out, once I figure out how to make the refined radiance. And while I'm also there, I will also learn how to make the other stuff I need for this, like the chromatic compound, shadow steel, refined radiance, and overcharged alloy, because I don't know how to make those at the moment. It's been a while since I've done it. I'll be back in a minute. Alright, I am back, and I have figured out how to make all three of those all these alloys. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm crushing netherrack to make cinder flour, which is needed for blaze cakes. What blaze cake does is it superheats a blaze burner, which allows you to make the chromatic compound, because that's how it's made. I also need a polished rose quartz for the to make, and sugar, and egg. And then you spout lava into the blaze cakes. But I will do that once I have the base made. The base is made by using a press. Basin, which is just, you take andesite alloy and make a minecart and use it like you would iron when making a minecart. It makes a basin. Now it's got power. You throw in your egg, your sugar, and your flour. And just due to how slow my thing is, there we are. We now have the blaze cake base. I will be needing that back. Also, I am gonna be I'm gonna get a mixer set up when I have a chance. But for now, those are just gonna go off to the side. I need a spout and lava. And for the ones who don't know why I'm not taking fire damage, is I've got a obsidian skull which gives me fire resist, so I don't have to worry about being burnt. I just only get damage from entering lava. Okay, and all I need to do now is throw blaze cake down. Yep. Now that I have blaze cake, I'm just gonna make 2 stacks of it. You will need a large cog for the rotation speed control. And I need large cogs and you can, and the way you're able to change your speed coming out of this hole here, if it's attached through here, like I have it here, like now. And then for chromatic compound, it's 3 glowstone, 3 powdered obsidian, and 1 of these powdered obsidian. Of course, so while I wait for that, you're going to need a lot of chromatic compound, because and you're going to need to be at the point where you're able to craft a beacon, because in order to make the refined radiance you need a beacon, but I'll show you that once I have all of the powdered obsidian. And back to this, we also need glowstone dust. And you have your superheat. Which gets you the chromatic compound. Excuse me. And these are also only able to be in stacks of 16 or quarter stacks. First one you're going to need to do is this. And then if you throw, the reason why you have to put a roof on is if when you throw the chromatic compound in, it floats. And then the next one, you throw them into the void. There it is. And then the last one, you need to make a Tesla coil. Electron tube, empty spools. Should be over here. Hammer. There we are. Tesla coil. And then you need a depot. Then you throw your chromatic compound on the thing, and it just takes a while. Nope. Sorry about that. I forgot to mention that this needs power. It doesn't get powered by the cogs and stuff, even though this is a create mod add-on. You gotta physically power it from something like a Sterling Dynamo. And I'll be back once it has become overcharged alloy. Alright, I am back, and I now have the overcharged alloy. Because it's better just to make them now than later and have to deal with them later. It just takes a really long time. I also did a bunch of combining here. Now, there is the last. The entirety of Chapter 2 is done. Next episode, I'll be working on resourceful bees. And then once resourceful bees is done, I'll probably split the creative items and the challenge items apart, along with doing bosses in between these. Since at some point I need to beat the Gaia Guardian, and some of these items, like the Soldium Dagger, require the creative attuned Soltium Dagger requires a boss to create some of these. So those will be next episode. Sorry, I've got stuff stuck in my throat. But next episode, I will be primarily focusing on all these in the next episode. Until then, goodbye. and please like and subscribe if you made it this far into the video.